Okay, I entered in 1957, and so by the time I was ready to go out to teach, it was the 60s, and that was the decade, the start of a long period of time where we were focusing on racism. Martin Luther King was big at that time. And when the provincial came to talk about our school, our African-American school in Chattanooga, Tennessee, I thought, oh my gosh, that would be wonderful. And lo and behold, when I got a letter in August, it was, you are assigned to St. Francis in Chattanooga, which would have been probably my favorite mission. Now just imagine coming from Dubuque, Iowa area and go where you were all German, Irish, white, to an all-black neighborhood, an all-black school in the 60s. So that was the beginning. But I loved it. I loved it. All these children seeking education, and it then was my responsibility to teach them, as well as the other BVMs. And we had a wonderful community, and it was a great start for my religious life. Well, the challenges were many in the sense that it was mostly, well, like I said, it was civil rights time. Martin Luther King was killed, John Kennedy was killed, Robert Kennedy. And it was all intertwined with a lot of racism. And then you worked with these wonderful people, and you thought, why are they having to deal with this rate of color of their skin, as well as all the other issues that come up with living a life? And it just seemed so unfair to me. I was there 6 years, and I had gotten this grant to study for my master's degree. So I thought it was a good time for me to leave. And that's how I ended up in New York, because Sister Angela Boozer was running a huge school out there, 900 students, compared to our small school. After I worked at St. Thomas for 11 years as a counselor in that school, then I worked for Catholic Charities, and I was the program manager for the pregnancy program. And at that time, there was still a lot of teenage pregnancy. And so Catholic Charities sponsored this residence, and girls who couldn't stay at home because their parents were too angry to keep them, as if they were 12 or 13. The youngest we had was 12. And the parents were just, they didn't know what to do. So they came to the residence. And there we had classes, completing our school, connecting with their high schools. And we had nurses come in to teach good health care for the young women, and preparation for adoption or parenting the baby. So I worked there for 8 years, and the young women that passed through that program during those 8 years were probably, during that time, we had about 300 girls that passed through that program. And they would ask one of the staff to go with them for delivery in the night they had their baby. And so I spent many a night in the delivery rooms there, and that's where I was present for the birth of about 200 babies, yeah. We were all trained, all the staff were trained Lamaze coaches. So we had the training that how to breathe and how to make your birth experience as positive as possible. We were the support, encourager, and just being somebody that they could feel comfortable with. And so it was different for everyone. Like I always think of this 12-year-old girl, she was about this big and giving birth to a baby. And at home she was doing her spelling words, it's a contradiction there, but she was the sweetest girl. So it was a very expanding experience for me to be there and be that support. And it was easy for me. They were doing the work, but it was easy for me to be supportive because that was the way we were trained and that was our role. And well, when you're in a supportive role and appreciated by the other person, that what's not to like about that? I mean, and then pretty soon there's a baby, and then they forget all of the other, and the joy at that point, and then a little while later, then the decision making and so forth. I have loved every ministry I had, and the ministry I would define is outreach to people, using what gifts that I have to help that person. And not even help, be there for people. I think that's really the essence of our life, to be there for other people. And because I have that counseling background, I can sit in a chair for hours and listen to people, believe it or not, and I don't talk. Because that's what counseling is all about in school. And all those years I was with the pregnant teenagers, a lot of it is just sitting in a chair. I don't give a lot of advice because I don't know what it's like to be a pregnant teenager. But I know I can listen to her story, for instance, and I know some things that might help her, or because I have access to other resources that they don't have. And kids in school, we have the access to education, and you give that to your students. Adults, same thing. Whatever gifts I have, organizing as a parish minister, giving that gift to invite others to do that. So, in just one word, it's the ministry of presence in giving what you have. There have been times along the way when I thought, why am I doing this? I'm tired of doing this. I'm going to just go away and do something else. But those were just little bumps. And so now I've been at BVM for 65 and a half years, and I just don't regret it. I'm glad I am where I am.